Yo, what's going on guys, Arekkz here, welcome back to another Destiny 2 video. We are now officially in July, which means the Destiny 2 beta is but 2 weeks away. I am super excited, hopefully you guys are too, but before then we've got some more stuff to talk about to fill the void. Once again, there has been some more information that has surfaced from a variety of different interviews on a plethora of different topics. Weapon roles, a note on the raid release date, a roadmap for a lot more information coming very soon, and much more. So as always, in the event that you've missed any of the important stuff, then look no further. If you do enjoy this, and you do find it useful, then a like would be super appreciated, and as always, be sure to share your thoughts down below. Now to begin with, let's kick things off with some dates. This weekend, just gone, at GuardianCon, IGN had a panel, and in that they spoke about Destiny, Destiny 2, all the usual stuff, but they also announced that their IGN First game of the month of July is Destiny 2. If you're not familiar with IGN First, the website essentially gets exclusive coverage for an entire month for a particular game. It's been going on for a pretty long time now, and it's usually a great source of information. If you've been following Destiny for a while, then you'll likely be familiar with the fact that this month-long exclusive coverage window more often than not goes to Game Informer. Now, whether they have something lined up for August, or whether IGN took the baton this year will remain to be seen, but the important thing is, for the remainder of this month, the month of July, there will be a regular cadence of Destiny 2 news, videos, and information coming direct from IGN. I will link the website down below. And for those of you keen to mark important dates in your calendar, then the coverage looks a little something like this. It starts on July 5th, that is tomorrow, and they're going to be exploring the new social space, The Farm. We've of course seen a few snippets of it so far, but they are hopefully going to be going around it in depth, showing us some of the vendors, and giving us a good look at what we can expect to do while we're there. Then the next day, July 6th, there will be Bungie's vision for Destiny 2. July 7th, there will be their first impressions. Then the following week, July 10th, there will be a PvP reveal. Now we of course have no idea what this is just yet. It could well be how Trials of Osiris is going to be changing in Destiny 2, because of course based on that rumour, it seems that it's going to be called Trials of the Nine, it's going to be taking a different format, of course 4v4, so could well be that, could instead be a completely different mode, could be something else entirely, but that is July 10th. July 11th is developing the story of Destiny 2, July 12th is a closer look at the Sentinel Titan, which will give us a look at it ahead of the beta, because of course Sentinel will be playable during the Destiny 2 beta, but this will hopefully show us all the perks, show the class in action and all that stuff before it even goes live. July 13th will be another PvP reveal, so maybe this could be Iron Banner, who knows. July 14th will be the Sounds of Destiny 2, so an audio related video. July 18th will be Destiny 2 Beta Live, because of course that is the day it goes live, so I guess there'll be some information about that. Maybe they'll do some live streams, who knows, but that is a beta focused day. July 19th is a closer look at combatants. July 20th is peripherals, so it's probably a focus on the fact that there's, I believe, a Razer partnership with Destiny this time, so some Destiny kind of related things like that. Maybe there's some toys, who knows. July 21st is localization. July 24th, a destination explored, so hopefully it'll either be a planet we have yet to kind of see in great detail, or more importantly, hopefully they'll actually have a chance to dive into the open world and see some of the cool stuff they've been talking about, maybe adventures, lost sectors, some of the like general missions, just general exploration. Like, we haven't seen anything like in the open world. We've seen strikes, we've seen PvP, we've seen condensed missions, we haven't seen some open world exploration, so that would be very, very awesome. July 25th is a third PvP reveal. July 26th is creating an exotic, so if you look back to, say, what Game Informer did with Rise of Iron, they did like a focus on the Kvozdov, so I imagine they'll probably pick like an exotic and then just do like some information on it, like the concept behind it, and then show us the weapon in action. And then July 28th will be the usual Ask Bungie Anything, where, you know, community submit questions and then they try and ask them to Bungie and then get them answered. Those ones are usually pretty heavily vetted, so you never end up getting the questions that you want, but it's still useful to kind of like check it out anyway. So that is the roadmap. Again, the website is linked down below. You can see that in text format if you want to be able to mark out all the different dates, but that is what we have coming for the month of July. And of course, if you're not able to keep up to date with this on a day-by-day basis, I will of course be covering all the important information right here. So as always, if you don't want to miss anything, then just sit tight and keep it locked. But that is still pretty exciting. That means we'll have a regular stream of content to look forward to in July, which will then lead us nicely into the beta. August is then the month of Gamescom, so things might be a tad quiet for a couple of weeks, but I imagine it won't be long before Bungie themselves want to start perhaps sharing a few things. Maybe they have some planned live streams like they usually do just before launch, where they're going to be showing us some different things, and then pretty much off the back of Gamescom, we're essentially at release, so it should be a pretty smooth transition. Now moving on from there to the next big topic of the week, and this is something that is causing a pretty big stir around the community, and that is news pertaining to the way in which weapon rolls will work, or perhaps won't, in Destiny 2. If you're familiar with Destiny 1, then you are familiar with the notion of weapon rolls. The never-ending search for that god roll gun, the reason that we check the vendors on a weekly basis to see if this week's palindrome is ever so slightly better than the one I bought last week, the reason people tirelessly farmed Omnigul for hours on end, just in the hope of getting that perfect grasp of Malok. Love it or hate it, random rolls and the associated RNG is a big part of the game, and it's a big part that keeps people coming back. This isn't new either, this isn't something that Destiny invented, this is present in a whole manner of loot-driven games. Diablo, The Division, Monster Hunter if you're charm farming. Any game where there is an element of RNG to what drops and the stats on said item, that is something that hooks us in. It keeps us grinding, and well, when you take a step back and look at what you're doing, you might think you could have spent your hours better doing something else. It ultimately is a key component of the grind. And the reason I bring this up is because in a recent Mashable article, which I've linked down below, they discuss how the notion of weapon rolls will be changing in Destiny 2, or at least the RNG associated with them. When speaking to Luke Smith, he said, and I quote, "There aren't random rolls on weapons anymore. Better Devils is a Crucible hand cannon in Destiny 2, and what it has on it is what it has on it. Period. The lineup of stats and perks for every weapon and every piece of armor in Destiny 2 is now handcrafted. That also means Bungie's sandbox team, which generally takes the lead on weapon balance changes, has a lot more flexibility when it's time to change things around. You can look at all the hand cannons now, for example, and track the data for everything. And it seems one of the main driving factors behind this decision is, of course, balancing. Once again, in Destiny 1 they had the ongoing challenge of keeping the game balanced every time a new block of weapons were added, and if you've been following the game closely, you'll know that guns were typically group balanced by archetype or category. For example, if there was an auto rifle balance pass, the only granularity we would have got was between, say, fire rates, slow rate of fire and fast rate of fire. Other than that, everything was painted with the same balancing brush, which isn't always the best way to handle things. So, Luke Smith said, it's going to give us more flexibility to do per item tuning. That is something we haven't had before because of the way we were building the first game. That means if a particular hand cannon is causing trouble in the Crucible, and it's reigning more dominant than anything else, instead of all hand cannons suffering as a result, they could then instead directly buff or nerf that particular weapon and hopefully create a better experience all round. However, as I'm sure you're all aware, with fixed rolls that drastically cuts down the total number of weapons in game. I mean, let's just say for argument's sake there are 100 weapons. If each of those weapons had a plethora of different variations, then the potential total number of weapons is much greater. But if they're fixed, that number is exactly what you get. But this is something they're aware of. Luke Smith then went on to say, how can my 2nd, 3rd and 10th Better Devil's hand cannon be interesting? That is a question we should be asking and answering as quickly as we can. We have ideas, and while I would like nothing more than to share those ideas with you, we're up against a deadline. I don't know if they'll make it for our September 6th release date, but we have some ideas that we're pretty excited about. So from that, it sounds like Destiny 2 might be launching with the fixed array of weapons that we're anticipating, but with a bit of luck, it won't be too long before they roll out a solution to the RNG lottery grind. I mean, if it's something that can come soon after launch, that'll be alright. Since at the very beginning, everyone will be busy with all the new content. Every new gun you get will be exciting, all the activities will keep you busy, and when the raid rolls out, there'll be a whole new wave of stuff to collect. But fast forward, say, 1 month after launch, this is where it will start to show. Assuming for a second that the first DLC drops around December, if there's nothing to grind for past the first month, then we could be in a rather sticky situation once again. But of course, at this stage, we have no idea what their overall plan is, nor do we have any visibility on their timeline. I'd like to think if they've made this conscious choice, then they have a plan in place to keep people coming back. I mean, Luke Smith, of all people, values the importance of this kind of grind. He is a World of Warcraft player through and through. He knows what keeps people coming back, so I have faith that they'll get something sorted. But either way, what do you guys think? Is the idea of fixed weapon roll something you like, or did you like the RNG grind for that god roll weapon in the past? That aside, moving on from there, let's talk briefly about when we can expect the raid to launch. We know for a fact it won't be available on launch day. I mean, it never is. People need time to gear up, get their loadouts and teams sorted, and then dive into the action. However, the question that follows is always how soon after launch can we expect to dive in? Well, in an interview with an Italian website, multiplayer.it, again linked down below, the question was asked, will the raid come with the base game, and more importantly, when will it launch? To which the answer was yes, it will be part of the base game, and it'll be available during the launch period. Of course, they're not giving any specific dates just yet, but what they did say is that the release date would be similar to that of King's Fall. They said they'll announce the date later, but it will give players enough time to get equipped and become powerful enough to take on the challenges. Now, as a reminder, the King's Fall raid launched very soon after the Taken King expansion. The same week, in fact. The Taken King launched on Tuesday the 15th, and the normal mode raid went live on Friday the 18th. Now in truth, I'm not a huge fan of this, not because I can't get ready in time, on the contrary, it will likely only take one day to hit max level, another day to grind gear, and the third day just to ensure your team is ready. But with a new game like Destiny 2, with vast worlds to explore, secrets to discover, and exciting new things to experience, I don't personally want to have to rush it. And while you could argue that nobody is forcing you to dive into the raid on day one, which is true, that is, at least for me, part of the fun. The world first race, trying to complete it first, is a rush and I love it. I personally think if they went to, say, the following week, it would at least give people an entire week to experience the base game before they begin scrambling to get ready. But either way, we still don't have a date for it just yet, so nobody really knows. What we do know is that Destiny 2 launches on a Wednesday this year, September 6th. So were the raid to go live on Friday, that would only give players 2 days. So in truth, if I had to hazard a guess, I think they'd shoot for, say, the following Tuesday, September 12th, and it would likely go live at the usual Bungie time of 10 AM. Once we get confirmation, of course, I will let you know, but for the time being, that is what we have to go on. However, whilst on the topic of raids, this time jumping over to a Game Rant article that went live yesterday, Luke Smith spoke very vaguely about Raid 5. Obviously that's not the name, but it's the 5th raid, so that's how he's referring to it until they give it a name. He explained how every raid to date has had a theme, a heartbeat if you will. The Vault of Glass was about splitting up players and bringing them together. Crota's End was about creating hero moments, like when you grab the sword and everything is riding on you to get the job done. King's Fall is all about traversal and navigating through space, and finally Wrath of the Machine is about action and creating moments of glorious combat. However, Raid 5, to quote Luke Smith, Raid 5, when we look at it, it was about building a place you believe is real. That was our priority, a place you can believe could exist. It's unlike anything we've done, the team is incredibly talented, and it is a joy to see them work. Now, that's literally all he gave us. We know how tight-lipped they are when it comes to raids, but it's still interesting to think about. I mean, Vault of Glass sort of messed with dimensions, Crota's End was this huge cavern beneath the moon, King's Fall had us travel to a worm god's throne room, and Wrath of the Machine was a combination of above ground and below into this kind of crazy machine god complex. Perhaps what he means by this is that the raid will be more grounded this time. Instead of taking us to some otherworldly places, maybe we're looking at something like a raid on a Cabal spaceship, or maybe Ghoul takes over the tower and after destroying it, we fight there. Maybe the raid takes place inside the Shard of the Traveller that sits behind the farm, which is the new social space. Right now, we honestly don't know. But if you think about the pre-existing themes, this one seems to be a lot more focused on the setting than any particular hero moments or anything like that, at least from what we've been given so far. Maybe, if it's more setting focused, perhaps there'll be a bigger emphasis on actual location-based mechanics, raid puzzles. Or maybe that's just wishful thinking on my part. But either way, that is something to think on. I imagine we'll get some sort of raid teaser just before launch, but short of that, we won't really know anything until we set foot inside for the first time. So for now, that's it. That is a roundup of the most recent bits of news. Again, if you did enjoy this, then a like would be super appreciated. And comment down below and let me know what you guys think. Thanks again for watching, take it easy, catch you next time, peace out.